This podcast is for informational purposes only and does not constitute legal, tax, investment, financial, or other advice. It is not intended to cause or induce breach of an existing agency agreement.
Hello? 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 This is the Vancouver
Commercial
Real Estate Podcast.
And welcome back to the Vancouver Commercial Real Estate Podcast. I'm Cory Wright.
And I'm Melisa Moretti.
Melisa, I must say, you kind of gave me the heads up before I got here. So for our listeners, we record these in a studio. Some people record them at their desks. We have like a little enclosed studio we do it. You sent me a text message, bring your sunglasses to the recording.
Yeah.
I thought you were joking. I walked in. We have the coolest neon sign inside the recording studio that says Vancouver Real Estate Podcast. And to find a photo of that, I'm sure if they check out the Instagram page, we've probably got something up there or soon to have something up there. You weren't kidding when you said sunglasses. I honestly should have put my SPF 50 on before I got here. I am going to get burnt.
I can see you getting tanned as we speak.
I burn
Although I don't
when
know
it
that
rains
you...
outside. That's how it works when you're a redhead. So.
Yeah. Ginger spice.
I thought it was business spice. The last one, wasn't it?
No. Ginger spice. Ginger spice latte. But yeah, you're right. It's
you are
blinding.
my favorite co-host, right?
I kind of feel like I'm in the club. I don't go to the club very often at all. But it's, what is it, 10 a.m.? And I feel like we need some music in here. Let's get it going.
On today's show, we have our friend Connor Braid, our managing director from the William Wright Commercial Victoria office. And Connor oversees and runs both our Victoria office for us and our set to open by month end Central Island office, which is located in the Greater Nanaimo area. And he's here today to talk all about the amazing Central Island market and why we picked Nanaimo as a number one market on the podcast for investments in 2023.
I can't wait to hear about it.
He's going to talk everything from population growth, give us all the industries that are growing and rapidly growing, talk about investor demand and new tenants that are moving in. So I'm very, very excited for that. But before we get to that, any big plans for the weekend?
Big plans for the weekend?
You were telling me how things are getting busier on the residential side.
Yep. I've got some appointments this weekend. I've got an open house. Yeah, it's feeling like things are getting busier. So it is. It really is getting busier. We feel it first, right?
So when you have the open houses, are you seeing dramatically more people coming through? I know before you were telling me about multiple offers and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
So market's back.
It feels like it's back. If you look at the stats, it's not necessarily indicating that, action has been happening, but you can feel it. We can feel it on the ground. We always feel it first. And so in the next few months, I suspect we're going to see it.
So all the optimism's back in the market. Demand is still higher than ever. Supply is still really, really low.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, guys, without further ado, let's get to our interview today with Connor Braid, Managing Director, Vancouver Island for William Wright Commercial.
All right, let's go.
Enjoy, guys. This week's episode is brought to you by our great friends at Impact Commercial Group.
Really enjoy working with Impact Commercial. And we should say Al and his team can basically do anything when it comes to lending.
Anything when it comes to under the commercial umbrella. You're building a building and development, we got you covered. You're buying land, we'll make that happen for you. You're investing in a property or multifamily building, check. Owner-occupiers looking to acquire their own space, double check. Anything commercial financing you need, Impact Commercial is your go-to.
ImpactCommercial.ca. And we should say over 50 years of combined experience. So trust these guys. They're the right fit.
Best in the business, in my opinion. Okay, so we're here today with Connor Braid, Managing Director, Vancouver Island for William Wright Commercial. Connor, how are you doing?
I'm great, thanks. Thanks for having me on.
I talk to you every day, sometimes 3 or 4 times a day, so I know all about you. But for all of our listeners who don't, can you maybe tell us more about yourself?
Sure. Yeah, so my name's Connor Braid. I'm the Managing Director Vancouver Island for William Wright Commercial. Been working with the company for the last 3.5 years now. I grew up and was raised in Victoria. I spent a lot of time in the UK and traveling the world through my 20s. I was working as a commercial appraiser up until around 2019, and then decided to go into the brokerage game with Cory and run the island operations here.
So Connor, we were very fortunate to join you towards the end of your professional athletic career, and Connor's being very humble at this point. Connor actually attended the Olympics, and Connor was also part of the Rugby Sevens program, the Canada Rugby Sevens program prior to. Melisa just had a big smile on her face.
We've got a star on the show.
We have a star. We have an ex-Olympian, and we've been very fortunate. So Connor's very humble, doesn't want to share that, but I will gladly share that. And I always poke fun at Connor when I'm in Vancouver and he's in Victoria, because he's probably 6'3" and his neck is the size of my legs. When I'm face to face with him, I always buy lunch. So
well, I mean, let's just call
how the relationship works.
Call a spade a spade. I'm 6 foot and I'm a wash up, and we're not talking about rugby. We're talking about commercial real estate now. So I appreciate it, but that was a past life.
Humble as always. All right, Connor. So one reason why we had you on the show today, we have our brand new Central Island office located in the Greater Nanaimo area, set to open towards the end of this month here. We picked Nanaimo on the podcast as our number one, we thought, investment market for 2023. There's lots of metrics that go in there, population growth, all of that stuff. You're going to oversee and run that office for the company there. Can you maybe tell us a little bit why you're excited about Nanaimo?
Yeah, you touched on a lot of those points. Increasing lease rates, upside in rents, cap rate compression in a growing marketplace, and geographical constraints as well. So with the ocean to the east, mountain range to the west, you've got tons of provincial park around Parksville and highways. So there's not a ton of room for adding more land to this area, right? So we're going to have to densify. Construction values we're seeing in the last couple of years, record high in 2019 of $445 million. That stabilized a bit in 2020 at 243, and then up. We're looking last summer. The numbers haven't come out yet, but as of last summer, we had 319 million projects just for Nanaimo alone. So it's exciting times. Construction is a huge part of the industry in the Central Island market.
One thing, too, we were fortunate we had Mayor Krog on the show probably about a year and a half ago now, and he was talking all about, kind of echoing the geographical constraints there. And he actually made a comment that resonated that I think by 2040 it was, that based on the current development of industrial properties over there, that Nanaimo actually could be out of zoned industrial land by about 2040, which just goes to show you the demand of it. And one thing I think people maybe not understand as well is when you're looking at lease rates, and we'll just say industrial properties for argument's sake, over there you can pay probably between $14 and $18 a foot for an industrial space, which is very similar pricing to you would see in Coquitlam, or even maybe some parts of Burnaby, where there's no delta really anymore now between the pricing of what you can find in some of these secondary and tertiary markets, which just goes to show the demand these markets have. Connor, I know one thing too that we talked about before we hit record here about population growth, but also about the fast ferry. Now, there's been lots of talk about that for years. You did some homework into that prior to. Can you maybe elaborate a little bit more on what this fast ferry thing is all about and if it's actually going to come to fruition?
Yeah, it's exciting. It's called the Vancouver Island Ferry Company, VIFC. I believe it is. It's all systems go. So it's a downtown to downtown convention center in Vancouver to the Nanaimo cruise ship terminal in 70 minutes. It's a passenger ferry. 354 seat capacity and multiple daily sailings. But the exciting part about that, not just bridging the gap between mainland and the island, but is job growth just within Nanaimo itself. I mean, they told me last week they're hiring up to 70 Islanders over the next 3 months for their for their Nanaimo operations, which is great. Huge driver for that area. But no, it's an exciting prospect. I think they're set to hopefully start leasing or releasing some sailing schedules, pricing, things like that in the next few months and hopefully hit go in the summertime.
And then do we roughly know how long that ferry ride is? Has there been any talk about how fast this ferry is going to be?
Yeah, estimated about 70 minutes.
So when we put that into context, I live in Coquitlam, which is arguably in a good day, 45 minutes outside of Vancouver. It can take me an hour and a half, 90 minutes to get into Vancouver in the morning and get home at nighttime. So I could eventually go to Nanaimo, save travel time, and buy a house probably for 1/3 the price point of what it would cost for a summer house in Coquitlam.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think when you look at that, if you look at the boom in Squamish, people started looking at Squamish as like, hey, if I'm driving 45 minutes from Burnaby sometimes to get into Vancouver, well, I can go to Squamish and get more for my money and have a great outdoor lifestyle. It seems like maybe Nanaimo is going to offer something similar through this fast ferry process for business professionals downtown.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, if you look at what happened throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, people really started to take stock on where they were living and how they were living and what they valued in their life, right? Being downtown in a lockdown is no fun, right? So I think that's kind of pushed people to get a little bit further outside of the core in some areas, and having the ability to work downtown Vancouver and get there within a shorter time frame than most people commute daily from greater Vancouver areas further out east. It's a pretty nice prospect.
One thing you mentioned here at the outset there, we're talking about kind of like investment markets in Nanaimo there, and you're talking about, some potential, maybe you could find some good assets, maybe with below market leases and stuff like that. Can you maybe talk a little bit more of what the attraction is to that particular market, the Central Island there, maybe from an investor standpoint?
Well, yeah, I think there's probably been, this mindset from, this is the Vancouver Commercial Real Estate Podcast, so let's talk about mainland mindset. My interpretation of it is that people have been looking for a unicorn farm on the island, right? It is a fantastic place to invest, but I think it's under the parameters that you're looking at it. So people have been thinking about the Central Island for lofty cap rates. So they're looking for, developers looking for 100 plus unit sites for pennies on the dollar. And there may have been, some good opportunities for this, over the last decade, but a lot of these sites have been gobbled up, and vendor pricing has actually increased the match demand. So right now, those incredible investment opportunities, do they exist? Yeah, if you go digging. But I think there's a good opportunity here to provide better education to developers and commercial real estate investors to look and understand the overall island trends, right? I think people need to start looking at a medium to long-term investment, right? It's not going to be a 2-year play where you're going to get 100% cash on cash or a massive return, right? But looking to invest for the longer term, there's plenty of good opportunities in the 4 to 5, 5.5 cap rate ranges with redevelopment potential, right? Properties with maybe below market rents or good upside in rents, and over a medium to long term time frame, you can look for that cap rate compression. And I think that's kind of the mindset that needs to go into it. You're not going to go and find like that quote unquote unicorn farm, but if you invest, like as we are personally, we're seeing a lot of opportunity, a lot of growth there. And that's where we're putting our investment money. But it's not so much for the short term. It's a medium to long term, and it's buying into the island market, the island trends.
And to add to that too, from the investor standpoint, people look over here on the mainland and they find maybe similar type assets in a 3 to a 4 cap rate range that might have some fairly high lease rates attached to it. One reason why we like the Nanaimo market so much is I can go over there and potentially find a little bit better of a cap rate, maybe a 5 to 5.5 that Connor suggested there. I'm not really sacrificing a lot on my vacancy. I'm not going to like in Alberta where I'm getting a much better cap rate, but then my vacancy rate is just shot through the roof. If I look at, say, industrial, for example, the industrial challenges on the vacancy side are equal to Vancouver Island as they are over in the mainland area. So if I go over there, get a very similar type vacancy rate, slightly higher cap rate, but maybe my lease rates are a little bit lower than maybe where they'll be in the coming years, those metrics make it very attractive for an investor where I'm not sacrificing on the vacancy side of things, but my lease rates have a little bit more runway ahead. And then if cap compression kicks in, where cap rates potentially may go down based on demand goes up, now you might be in a position where you bought something at like a 5.5 cap rate. The market trends down to a 5. So when cap rates compress, pricing goes up for the owners. But not only that, but now maybe my lease rates aren't $10 a foot. Now they're $14 a foot, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that's a 40% increase on a percentage basis. So if I'm getting 40% potentially more on my rents, my cap rate has gone down, pushing my pricing up. Now I'm making money in 3 different metrics, which are very, very hard to do. Versus maybe say at Vancouver, you might buy something at a 3 cap rate. The tenant's paying $80 a foot and the renewal might be $83 a foot. So there's not going to be much cap compression there because that's very hard to debt service, especially in today's world with interest rates. But the lease rates don't have the chance to actually go up dramatically. So you're kind of really making your money on the tenant paying down your mortgage, which is the traditional route in real estate, versus some of these secondary markets that we like, where you can make money from not only tenant paying down your paying down your mortgage, but also your income on the property going up. And then potentially you have cap compression because demand increases, supply is low, pricing goes up. You're making money in 3-fold scenarios, which is not always the easiest to find.
No, absolutely. You nailed it there.
So Connor, one thing too that you sort of mentioned on the outset as well there, we're talking about population. Can we maybe talk a little bit more about what is the population of the Nanaimo marketplace and sort of where has that kind of population going?
Yeah, for sure. And what we were talking about before is just how commercial real estate lags behind that population growth. So City of Nanaimo increased 10.3% between census reports 2016 and 2021. We're estimated last year to be around 103,000 people as well. by 2046, though, estimates to reach 140,000 for the city of Nanaimo. So, it's a rapidly growing market. And between 2014 and 2021, I think there was some 46,000 people that moved to Vancouver Island from other parts of BC alone, and then another 37,000 from elsewhere in Canada. So there's huge demand to live here, reside here, operate your businesses here, invest here. The barriers to entry are high, but it's a pretty exciting prospect. So with that, we see that CRE, commercial real estate, lag kind of behind, because these people, this massive population growth, these people need places to work. They need office, retail, industrial assets, right? They need places for consumption, food and beverage, shopping, accommodation to support, their lifestyle. And they need public and private amenities through institutional uses, recreational centers, schools, parks, things like that. So that's what we're seeing now is through, the construction stats that I showed you guys earlier. That's housing, but a lot of that is commercial real estate as well, because you have to be able to fill that space. Add the space to kind of hit that demand with growing numbers.
Yeah, Connor's bang on with regards to that. And that's one thing from an investor standpoint. If you can get decent returns, or you feel you have upside today and the population is continuing to grow, that's where, when Connor talks about medium to long-term big successes, that's where that comes in. Because a lot of people, where investors make the mistake is rumors are out there that this is going to happen in an area, or rumors are this is going to go on, or these developers are going to go on. But that something's going to take years to come to fruition. So if you buy into a market too early, you might have too many challenges or bumpy roads ahead of you that the numbers actually start to sway in a very negative format, because you're buying based on speculation, too much speculation at that point. Versus if we can get into Nanaimo now and get a 5 or a 5.5 cap rate with potentially below market leases, and the population's growing and the development's coming. Developments, as people come into these markets, it just adds additional pressure, because now people need jobs. They need to go to the grocery store. They need to go to work at their office. So there's so many things like that add pressure that Connor had mentioned there, that it does lag behind that. But if you can get a good return now, well, it's catching up to population growth, you have a very, very bright future in that medium to long term.
Connor, can you speak a little bit to what the major business sectors are in Nanaimo currently?
Yeah, so major drivers, I'd say top 5 in the sectors that really account for 65% of all business licenses in Nanaimo are construction, professional services, retail, trade, public administration, and healthcare. Now, to add to that, you have Vancouver Island University. It's a great school, and they're doing great numbers, especially post-COVID. So, there's some really exciting prospects in the Mid-Island market, and some great drivers for the economy as well.
And what about current developments that are underway or coming up? You have some context around that?
There's definitely some exciting projects. Firstly, I think not from residential standpoint or a housing standpoint, but the Duke Point expansion project is pretty exciting. They're looking. Predictions call for about 1,000 new jobs through that to stimulate the economy. And then essentially it's a short sea shipping opportunity between Nanaimo and Vancouver Island, and that'll hopefully reduce a lot of the congestion that we're seeing in the Vancouver ports. But I believe it's an expansion to about 325 meters from the 183 that they currently have at Duke Point. So that'll be very good. We've also got, in terms of exciting developments, the Sandstone Master Plan is pretty interesting. Roughly 2,200 residential units, along with brand new industrial, commercial, and retail uses. That's being done by VCREP Properties. And I think it spans about 730 acres. So it's a massive, massive development site. The Harborside Hotel revamp, so mixed-use development, 760 units over 8 buildings, hotel, conference center, and more than 10,000 square feet of commercial space. It's really exciting in the downtown core there. One Commercial Street is another exciting one, 20,000 square feet of retail and office being brought to market by Steiner Properties. And that's actually a retrofit and a revamp of the old A&B Sound building. So I think we had Jake Steiner on the pod a little while ago. You guys had him on the podcast. And that's being brought to market by William Wright. So that's an interesting one. We're getting a lot of calls on it, and people are just excited to see gentrification of city center and close to the old quarter there. So we're really excited about that project.
So Connor, one thing too that we sort of talked about a little bit, and you'll have a better knowledge than we will. Victoria pricing from, let's say, a housing market has gone up dramatically prior to the pandemic, and then obviously amplified during the pandemic. Are you seeing a population shift from people who are maybe getting priced out of that greater Victoria market that are now looking to that Central Island market to move and reposition from an affordability standpoint?
they have the right runway professionally, which is definitely happening in the Mid-Island market. You're seeing a lot of people and young families move that way. I have lots of friends, actually, more surprisingly, more from Vancouver heading to the Mid-Island market than I do know from the South Island, but definitely. And what you're seeing is with the way things are going there, when you look at something like the fast ferry, the accessibility to the South Island and to Vancouver, ability to work from home, more remote work in different sectors, those lower price points. Now, I'll say lower. It's not that much cheaper. The Mid-Island has rapidly increased throughout that time frame that you spoke of. But you can still, there is more bang for your buck, so to speak. So it's definitely happening. And with more, I guess, kind of professional runway for individuals, it's going to continue to happen.
Now, are you guys seeing more institutional buyers, REITs, maybe mainland developers come into that Central Island market now over the past couple of years than maybe they weren't there 3 or 4 or 5 years ago?
Yeah, there's definitely a ton of interest, and you look at some of these some developments that are going on. There's definitely mainland money and mainland development coming over, but there's actually for the larger developments, a lot of them are Mid-Island based and they're medium sized. And current large scale developments, there a lot of the land has been owned for quite a long time, right? So you're looking at joint venture projects, you're looking at just long-term holdings, people that knew Nanaimo and knew the Central Island was on the map, and they're just waiting for it to go. And they've almost been land banking for some time, and a lot of those are island-based people as well. But it's a good mix at the moment. I think one thing that, call it, mainland developers have had to learn about the island is business is done a little bit differently, right? There's a great competition for trades here, but there's also just not the same volume as you'd have in the mainland market. So whether it's island time or treating trades a little bit differently than you would on the mainland, I think some developers have learned that, and those that have are doing really well, and they're building really solid teams to get these projects from the ground up. But that's kind of what we're seeing right now.
So to put you on the spot here, if I had Connor Braid's checkbook, what asset class in that central market am I buying or Central Island market am I buying, and why?
Good question. I do like the idea of multi-tenant industrial, smaller base stuff. Like the idea of retail, like well-located, not necessarily anchored, but well-located retail strip malls, places where you have under-market rents or close to, where you're still, maybe you won't love the cap rate at first, but through a bit of diligence and working through being proactive with your tenancy group to get those rates up to market, I think there's some really good opportunities there. Any sort of medical office building that you can get your hands on, where you're dealing with a certain demographic of tenants, I think is also great too. You've got an aging demographic on the island for sure, right? So the amenities and services that medical office buildings provide, they're a staple. So if we could find any of those, definitely jump on those.
Connor, before we wrap for the day, I know we're on a time crunch here with you. Appreciate you taking the time to join us. We have our 6-pack of lighthearted questions that we ask all of our guests, so we can get to know you a little bit more outside the office. I know we've had you on before, talking all about the Vancouver Island market there. So we've actually got a updated 6-pack here. Do you have a couple more minutes to hang out with us?
Of course.
The 6-pack is powered by our great friends over at Red Point Law.
Oh, the guys at Red Point Law are fantastic, Cory.
For all your legal needs when it comes to commercial real estate, visit them at redpointlaw.ca.
You always say lighthearted, but our first question is, if you're on death row, what's your last meal? I don't know how lighthearted that is, but...
Well, we get to find out if Connor's a spaghetti guy or maybe he's a hamburger guy. Okay. That's why. So we got to find out what he eats when he goes out.
On death row. All right, Connor, what are you having?
Last meal ever.
Tomahawk steak.
Oh.
Maybe
that's a good one.
Garlic mash.
What's on the side?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Not that I want you to
maybe a cigar.
Right.
That's a first.
We've never had that before.
We've never had that before.
Maybe a scotch and a cigar and a tomahawk steak, and call it a day.
Now that we're getting excited, is there any particular restaurant you're getting all this at?
Well, I'm in prison, right?
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll let you out.
They're ordering Uber Eats.
Are you going to Hive Steakhouse? Is that where we're going for this?
Yeah.
There you go. Okay. Yeah. There we go. I know you're well-traveled, obviously, with your history in rugby there. Favorite vacation spot when you find the time to unwind?
I always loved Mexico. And I'd really like to spend some more time in South America. Chile, Argentina. I've been to Argentina once and it was amazing. So really Latin countries, good heat, good food, good culture. So pretty much south of where we are.
Well, Melissa's giving that the thumbs up. She wasn't too impressed with Mexico. She thought that was too stereotypical, but then
a little bit generic. But
she
you
liked the
got me
chili.
with
Yeah.
Chile and
Mexico's
Argentina.
a big place, right? And it's got some pretty different places. Not all of Mexico is Cabo.
It's true.
You're
That's
right.
true.
You're right.
That's true. Good point.
Maybe that just speaks to my generic vacation spots in
You're
Mexico.
just making biased opinions of our guests.
I know. My apologies. Connor, okay, next question. Favorite bar or restaurant?
And this can be Victoria's. This can be in Victoria or Nanaimo. Your choice.
Ooh. Well, we'll go Victoria. I'm a big fan of Il Terrazzo down in downtown Victoria. And I think it's been around for 35 years. Family-run Italian restaurant. Can't get much better than that.
That's a good one. So it's Friday night. You've kicked back. You've had a few drinks. You're feeling really good about yourself. You're at the bar with your buddies. Someone gives you a karaoke mic and forces you on stage. What song are you singing?
Living on a Prayer. Bon Jovi, probably.
That's a good one.
You get you need something you get the crowd into early because you don't want to be up there just singing by yourself, right?
Strategic.
Yeah.
So this is a man of strategy.
Yeah.
Man of strategy here.
All right. Favorite band?
Favorite band. I'm just not as musically simple as someone like Cory, where he's just no brainer, right? No brainer Nickelback, right?
I love that you called that out. Thank you, Connor.
Yeah, I couldn't.
Melissa's a closet Nickelback fan. She pretends she doesn't like them, but I guarantee she has them on her iPod.
Right. Because I have an iPod.
I say iPod. Yeah, there you go. Your
This
phone.
all checks out.
Your phone. It sounds legitimate now. She has it on her Walkman.
Yeah. My Discman.
I honestly couldn't say I have a favorite artist. I listen to so much music and it's all just dependent on what mood I'm in or what I'm doing. So,
is there a go-to genre?
No, not even. It's literally everything and anything. But I'll give you a band, really good band. Kurumbin is fantastic. They make phenomenal music. I've been listening to them.
I've seen them.
I can't even spell it. I can't pronounce it, but they're fantastic. Yeah. We'll go with them.
Yeah,
flavor of the week.
I've seen them. They opened up for Leon Bridges a few years ago. So I saw them. They were very good. Yeah.
Okay. All right, Connor, last question up before we let you go here. A piece of advice for our listeners here, maybe who want to make a commercial investment in 2023, knowing the current economic challenges we have. Any piece of advice you can share?
In more Central Island or just in BC, anywhere.
Anywhere you want. Just a piece of advice for someone that shows up at your door. It says, hey, I want to buy a piece of commercial real estate in 2023. What advice or guidance can you provide them?
Expand your outlook, your time frame, and your horizon, right? It's not a get rich quick scheme. Real estate is a get rich very, very slowly scheme. Or I don't know if scheme's the best word for it, but plan. So find an area, stake your claim, so to speak, for the medium to long term. I think our job as brokers and is education advisement, and to let people know that it is a slower process. And as far as looking for unicorn farms, right? In any strong market like Central Island, Vancouver, Victoria, wherever it is, I think that the future is really the unicorn, right? Don't go looking for that home run deal. Look for a single, double, and then let time take over. That's kind of my 2 cents.
Great advice, Connor, as always. And for all of our guests that want to get a hold of you and find out more what you guys are doing over there at William Wright Commercial on Vancouver Island, how can they do that?
You can email me, connor@williamwright.ca. Our phone number is 250-590-5797. Go on our website, williamwright.ca. All my contact information is there. Happy to chat to anyone. And just really appreciate you guys taking the time. Thanks for having me on for a quick pod.
Well, thanks so much, Connor. We appreciate it. As always, we know you guys are extremely busy over there and doing God's work on Vancouver Island. So we appreciate you taking the time to join us.
Thanks, Connor.
There you have it, folks. Our interview today with Connor Braid,
Very
Managing
excited.
Director of Vancouver Island for us.
Very excited about Vancouver Island.
Yes, no, he. I will say, we were very fortunate to have him on as part of our island team there, as we are with all of our guys on the island. They've done a phenomenal job over there over the past couple of years. We are thrilled to finally have an office open in that Central Island market. We've been talking about lots. Connor spoke a little bit about a project we have there called One Commercial, which is Steiner Properties project. It's the old A&B Sound building, arguably probably been a big eyesore in the downtown for so long. So I know there's a lot of excitement for it. And I know Harry Jones and Connor have been doing a lot of work on that one over there, and they've had tremendous response from the community and tenancies. So lots of exciting stuff happening over there. Great investment market. We've echoed it for a long time here. We still believe in that market, and we're very excited to get an office open over there. So we have boots on the ground and we can finally service the Central Island market.
Well, I know who to talk to when I'm ready.
Time will tell. Melisa, before we let everyone go go here, anything exciting you can leave us on? Any exciting notes?
That's a lot of pressure,
yeah,
Cory.
No, a lot real estate news, exciting real estate news.
Exciting
Where are you and
real
the boyfriend
estate
going for dinner
news.
this weekend?
Ooh, you know what? Well, last weekend we went to Bodega.
Oh, that's a good choice. Yeah.
Love Bodega. Zarek. Have you ever been there?
I have not heard of that
That's
one. Where's
the next
that?
on the list. It's on Main Street.
Okay.
It's Afghan food.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, that's going to be the next one. We've got a bit of a list going.
You guys are foodies.
Well, we try. We try.
You try.
Yeah.
I just get the simple sushi pre-made at H Mart downtown
Very
Vancouver.
on brand.
Yeah.
With your sort of
stereotypical,
simple-
easy answer.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, let's leave it there. Another great episode in the can. More great ones to follow. So thank you once again for listening. We look forward to hearing from you. If you want to reach out to me, talk about commercial real estate, you're welcome to. You can reach me at Cory@williamwright.ca. You can visit our website, williamwright.ca, sign up for the latest and greatest news. Or you can call our Vancouver office, 604-428-5255. Anytime. Tell us what you're looking for. We'll put you in touch with the best broker throughout the province for your asset that can service your needs. And Melisa, for those who want to get a hold of you to find out how to buy and sell condos in this rapidly growing market with multiple offers, how can they do that?
Yeah, they can call me 778-869-4477 or shoot me an email at melissa@vancouverrealestatepodcast.com.
Another great episode, guys. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Subscribe today.